And well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the world famous Lock and Load show on the fabulous Gun Channels platform. Where we talk about guns, freedom, and the truth until dawn, or until we all get drunk and pass out, whichever comes first. So, in our too strange to be fake news, start off with that. If I could get a too strange to be fake news sound effect going here. Where's my never-ending supply of cell phone sound effects? Too strange to be fake news sound effect. Oh, it's got to be in here somewhere. Okay, world famous news anchor Katie Couric and supposed journalist interviewed a sex robot on a national network. And that's not even the funny part. The funny part is if you go online and look at the, I think she's NBC, right? If you go online and look at the video of the interview of the sex robot, it's at a restaurant and somebody bought the sex robot a salad because it's sitting right in front of the sex robot.
Wait a minute. Was it a Cherry 2000? Because if it was, I'm in the market for one of those.
I didn't catch the model number. But with the internet being what it is, I'm sure you'll find whatever it is you're looking for.
Just remember, don't get it in soapy water. It'll short out.
Yeah.
Okay, so Squib was it? Wanted to know what kind of holster I was going to carry. When I'm going to be visiting Arizona. I'm going to be flying out of Hawaii from like March 11th, and I'll be gone from there, hit California, drive to Prescott, Arizona, and I'll be there until the 31st. So, but this is the holster I'm going to plan on carrying, the Glock. I don't know how well you guys can see it. Let me get a flashlight and put some light on it. Oh, that's not going to help. It's an inexpensive UTG holster. It's got a retention strap on the back. And it's just inexpensive. It's only for a week, really. So it's not as good as my Stealth Gear USA holsters, but it's only for a week, and it fits my Glock 17 fine. So it's kind of a universal holster. I figure it'll fit a Glock 30 just as well. If I have a custom holster for this Glock, but I don't think it'll fit a Glock 30 because this is a Glock 17. And obviously Glock 30 was 45 ACP, and it's a Glock 30S. But I'm just going to borrow one of my dad's pistols to carry when I'm in that particular free state. So, but this is the one I'm going to be carrying. I'm planning on using. It's only for a week, so it's not like I'm planning on getting into any gunfights with it or anything. It's just firearms, a symbol of freedom, and that's a free state. So I'm going to be carrying Glock 30, and this is right now Glock 17, but that's the holster I'm going to be using. And it ought to be a fun trip. I'm going to try to visit the Ruger factory, the Dawson Knife factory, and see what other fun stuff there is to see in Prescott, Arizona. And be in a free state for a week. Ought to be cool. And what's some other news? Let's see. I think I have some screenshots I can share. In prepper news, the big news today was oil prices and oil futures were up on account of the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at some African conference did a presentation on basically claims that he has like 180 discs, 182 discs, and a bunch of classified Iran documents and notebooks all about their secret nuclear program and their ballistic missile program, that it's all in violation of the deal that they signed. So in a couple days, Trump has to make a call on whether to continue to waive the sanctions against Iran, or, Obama's deal with Iran, that pretty much sucked. But if they're secretly working on a nuclear bomb and intercontinental ballistic missiles, then we're going to have to do something about that. I know Israel's going to. I think the problem that Israel has with Iran is that Israel has a tiny, tiny little population, 5 million people, and Iran has this gigantic population of several hundred million people. At least that's my understanding of it. So Iran is just too big for Israel to deal with. I mean, yeah, they could send in a few jets and blow some shit up, and they've got some great subs, and they could probably even win a few battles. But geopolitically, it's just 500 million people versus 5 million people is not a good situation for a country. So it's up to Trump. He's the president. He gets to make those wonderful. I mean, presidents don't get easy decisions. All the easy decisions get made by Night Strike or somebody like that. He only gets the tough ones that could land on his desk. So what to do about Iran is going to be one of them. And what I'll do is I'll have another drink.
Hopefully he does the right thing.
Yeah, whatever that is. It's hard to know what the right thing is.
You back Israel, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, sure. But back in Israel is going to. I mean, the problem is Iran has these nukes and or a nuclear program and intercontinental ballistic missiles that they're working on, and whatever technology they don't have, they could buy from North Korea or Pakistan or something like that. I mean, money talks, technology walks. So we'll see what happens, but that's what was driving up oil futures, and it's really hard to tell. Hopefully I don't need my nuclear radiation tablets that I have, my ThyroSafe pills, anytime soon. But I don't know, being a prepper is just prepping for whatever could happen. Volcanoes, cold weather. I hear it's been cold in parts of Michigan. I did want to screen share that from the weather. Let me see if I could hit that screen share button on the weather. If I can find it. Let's see. Is this it? Nope, that's the Kilauea Volcano Observatory. There's something for, if Dusty ever makes it on, I could talk to him about cold weather affecting yield for corn. That's not the one I wanted. Let's see. See if I can get the right page up this time. I think this one's it. Yeah, so Chicago was 31 degrees, snow in upstate New York. Indianapolis record low, 30 degrees. Cincinnati, record low, 30 degrees. Chicago was a tie for the record low at 31. And what this headline says up here is more snow and record cold closeout April in Great Lakes and interior Northeast.
That was 2 days ago.
Well, okay, but it's the end of April. It's supposed to be spring, right?
No, very true. Very true.
And
no, not here. Unfortunately, spring should be here in March, and as late as May, we crap went. It hasn't been bad the past 2 days, but yeah, we did have some cold weather last week. It's what happens. It'll get warm for a couple days, the flowers will start to bloom, then we'll get frost. That's the way it is up here. We're halfway between the equator and the North Pole. Our weather's all screwy.
It's really hard to hear you, Squib. There's so much background noise. I know you're at work, right? So that's just the way it is. So apologize for all that noise out there to our listening audience of like 3 people. But anyway, it's just one of those things that it could affect crop yields as far as when corn has to be planted by, as far as what the temperature is. So if Dusty was here, he could explain it better than me. But anyway, here in Kona, it's been weird because usually there's in Hawaii, there's in my town, Kailua Kona, there's like this, the sun heats the earth puts up hot air, rises, and we have like a high pressure zone over Kona that keeps the clouds, the trade winds push clouds. They come in from the east side and roll over the big mountains and volcanoes and roll over to the west side here. But they usually don't, they'll like get hung up on the mountains, and the high pressure keeps them out of Kona until the sun goes down, the heat goes away, the high pressure goes away, and then all the clouds roll in and it rains. But it just hasn't been as warm. I think the sun isn't putting out as much radiation because of the grand solar minimum. And so it's not as hot, there's no high pressure, and it's basically been mostly cloudy every day. So it's been messing up my pool time a little. But I went out there anyway. We got like 15 minutes worth of sun today, I think. I'll survive it. It's 80, it's like 80 degrees. So, but I like it. I like just floating in the pool when it's sunny. It's comfortable and relaxing. And I was getting over a cold, and all the coughing had some sore ribs from all the coughing. So I'm mostly over it. So
Man,
hopefully, you know that feeling.
yeah. Oh God, yes. God, I hate that. It hurts.
Yeah, well, you got to keep your health. So I wanted to screen share. This is Jesse James Bullpup, right? The Desert Tech. Let's see if I can screen share that one. Oops. Let me try and do everything on this. So we're gonna have the battle of the bullpups here in a second. If I can manage it.
Hopefully not too big of a battle.
Well, we aren't going to shoot each other. We're just going to screen share some pictures. That's all. Desert Tech. All right. Is this showing through?
Yep.
So there's a expensive Desert Tech bullpup rifle in 308.
Yes, sir.
And does that have a lot of kick? It's a 16-inch barrel.
No, actually, my personal opinion is actually rather mild compared to my 308 AR that I have.
I mean, is that a red dot on a 308 rifle? That's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually the Mikey Hartman MH1 optic on there.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the optic. And what's that pistol down there? That dual tone.
That's the Bond Arms Bullpup 9.
Bullpup
It was,
9 pistol.
Originally it was
What?
the Bullberg, and then Bond Arms actually bought it off of Bullberg.
Why do they call that a bullpup pistol? I didn't even know there was such a thing.
If you actually notice where the actual barrel is compared to where the grip is, the side actually grabs the rim of the casing in the magazine and pulls it back, and then tips it up and then pushes it into the actual barrel.
Okay. What caliber is that pistol?
That one is 9mm.
9. Okay. So how many rounds do you have through that thing? I mean the rifle.
Actually, I put 60 rounds through it today. This is actually the first time actually taking it out. So.
Okay. Well, and it's got a charging handle on both sides of the rifle. You were saying earlier.
Yes, it's on both sides.
Okay. So that's the new Mikey Hartman. Is there a remote that comes with that too, for controlling it, or?
It's sold separately, unfortunately. But apparently, Midway actually has some, or had some, at least last month. I didn't actually get one yet.
That thing was so that whole thing with Mikey Hartman Optics, it was so vaporware for so long. I had just given up, and I'm happy with my original Mikey Hartman Optics. So I got tired, and people were giving me, well, is this new optic going to be available? When is it going to be available? And I was like, I don't know. And I think you bought it for a while, and you just were waiting like forever.
Yeah. Like anything else, I bought this or paid for it last year and waited a year, basically a year. So compared to other people that paid or waited about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, Mikey Hartman was a guy from California who was Jewish, and he basically joined the IDF and became started their rifle school. Because apparently a long time ago, Israelis weren't hitting what they were aiming at, the army. So they wanted a rifle school to help improve that. And so Mikey Hartman put that together, and he tried to incorporate all of his knowledge into this optic and the previous version of this optic the original version. And this is like the new version, and like we were saying, it was vaporware, and people bought it and waited forever because the dealers took the money, and then they missed delivery date after delivery date after delivery deadline. It was like, well, we'll have it by the next SHOT Show, and I think I heard that 3 years in a row, and it was after the third year, I'm like, you know what, screw you guys. And I just pretty much stopped talking about it. I mean, that's what I have on my Tavor. I mean, I have the older version, not the new one. How was it shooting with the new version?
Well, I never actually had the old one, so I'm not really quite sure what the big difference is between. I wouldn't say I would ever use it really for a combat optic per se, because it is a rechargeable battery. And it does have a CR123 battery. I don't remember what the actual. Yeah. That's
what I have on mine. It doesn't have any rechargeable thing. It's CR123, and when it starts blinking when the battery needs to be replaced, and then you just pop it out and put a new one in. So, and I have one, and I have my bug out bag has a whole ton of CR123 batteries in it, in some polymer carry case for CR123s. So
I will say that I like the actual concept of it a lot, of actually being able to leave it on and it actually falls asleep. The idea is very good, and I could see it being a good optic for like a cruiser ready, where you just have the actual USB always plugged in, charging in the car, and just grab the rifle and just pull it out.
Yeah, I can't wait till they come out with a phase rifle or something where you just leave it plugged into the USB port of your car to keep it charged up.
But it doesn't really have any good solid data for how long the actual optic lasts on the actual internal battery, and then how long it would actually last on the actual CR123 backup. And I think those really need to be separated to actually really understand the useful capabilities of it. Because if you don't use it and it dies, and you don't always look at it, you'll never know.
Well, if it's sitting in your closet and you don't use it, then you're going to just, if you're going to war, then you're just going to start off with a brand new fucking battery and throw the old one out without even bothering, because you're just going to put it in a battery, because that's just what you would do. And then hopefully by the time the war was over, the battery would still be working.
But at the same time, even when it's in the sleep mode, it's still draining power from the actual batteries. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, it, well, I guess you're just gonna have to get used to it and see how much you like it or not. It's just go shooting with it more, and you'll figure it out. I guess if it works or how long it lasts. I've only had to replace mine once, and yeah, it was just sitting in the closet. It eventually wore out, and but I do have a that green laser designator on mine, so I could always just and it zeroed to the I zeroed it to the optic, so it's the same as the red dot on the red dot I see is the in the optic is the same exact spot where the I forgot how many yards I set it at, but it's pretty much the same exact spot as the green laser designator. So obviously I prefer to look through an optic and not just. But if it was when you're CQB, I guess you wouldn't always have a lot of time, and so if you don't have time to look through an optic, put the laser on the target, pull the trigger, and it'll should get the job done.
what I really should do is just charge it up and just put a brand new battery in it, and then basically check it every day and see how long it lasts.
Well, I think mine lasted for almost 2 years before I ever had to replace it on mine, but it was in the original version. I think that on yours, the way the sleep mode is different than the original version somehow.
Yeah, it has like two different I don't know if it be gyros or picos or accelerometers in it, depending on how it actually or for it to actually wake up.
Yeah, I think the concept was they wanted to make it that you would have to do some kind of combat rifle move to wake it up, and not just like, touch the rifle and then it wakes up. You'd have to like level it or aim it at something or do some kind of. The concept was they wanted to make it so you would do like a rifle move and it would wake up, not just you bump your rifle or you're sitting there and on a what do you call it when you're doing detail is like an ambush detail? Squib, what do you call those? Squib.
Well, I can tell you that it'll go to sleep.
What?
Point it down.
What's the name of the patrol? Well, what's the name of the detail if you get set out? Like your sergeant tells you, okay, you set up an ambush here. Well, what's that called?
An ambush.
But what's the detail called?
Perimeter.
No, perimeter would be for wherever the area you're protecting. Your perimeter would just be a defensive position. An ambush is an ambush. I don't ever remember there being a name for an ambush detail. Okay,
I thought there was, but I must have my. I haven't watched Tour of Duty lately, so that's where I get my military jargon from. We have people. Everybody else has actually been in the military on this chat except me, I think. So
no, not me.
Okay, well, I know Squib has, and is Jared made it in here? I don't know. All right. So what else should we know about this rifle?
Well, right now it's 308. It's a convertible rifle. There's supposed to be a conversion kit for Q3 coming out. There is a third party that actually sells 6.5 Creedmoor barrels for it now. So it is a convertible firearm or for caliber.
Okay.
It's forward ejecting.
Okay.
So it's forward ejecting without having to change anything. So it's lefty friendly, or I guess for some people offhand shooting if they use their other hand to shoot or other shoulder. And it's expensive.
It's expensive. Okay, I think you said something like $2,500 or something like that.
Yes.
So, anyone's in the market, you charge up your credit cards and kiss your credit goodbye. All right, so I'll just wanted to screen share, I guess my and you said it was a pretty soft recoil, and it's a 308.
I mean, it's a very mild recoil compared to my 308 AR.
Your AR is also 16-inch barrel, or
no? That's actually a 20-inch barrel.
20.
And probably weighs about 2 pounds heavier.
What is the weight of this rifle?
I believe it's actually stated at 8.9 pounds.
Okay, so it's a slightly heavy rifle compared to like an ultralight AR or something.
Yeah. But of course, bigger caliber, and it's got to be built a bit heavier. Originally, they were saying it was going to be like a 7 or 6 pound rifle, but that just never worked out.
Well, that's like the vaporware. What was I going to say on the Hartman optic? I had one thing. Let me see if I could pull up my. I have some bunch of info on Hartman optic. There's one concept that Hartman was always boasting about his optic as far as the red dot.
User configurable. He was always saying it's a user configurable.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. It wasn't. Sorry, I'm going through my 10 billion. I'm going through my download folder, which has 10 billion things in it. So give me a moment to dig it up. It's been so long since I did a review on this optic that this brand of optic that it's hard to remember everything off the top of my head. Juice. Come on. My download folder is ridiculous. Not to mention that everything's taking forever to build photographs and files. That's not it. Yeah, okay, it'd probably be MSC, so it could be M. No, not mass shootings. MS, okay, here, MS APC guide. Let's see if this is this one. Just need to refresh my memory. Okay, let's see. MSC sites waterproof, yes. MSC have military spec rating, no, but they were built and exceed no spec. Let's see. What is the minute of angle? Cross is 51.5 MOA and center dot is 1.7 MOA.
What'd I miss?
He's a moment.
I don't think you missed anything really. Except me trying to find something somewhere in my download folder. It's probably in.
You've had that problem before.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of data.
Data. Too much data.
It's probably just more of an organizational skills or thing. I have a hard time organizing my stuff on my computer sometimes.
Well, if I knew I was going to talk about this optic before the show, I would have had it ready to go, but I didn't. And even though I've done a lot of reviews on it, it's been like 5 years since I did a review on this, and I just don't remember off the top of my head everything. So I apologize for the delay.
Oh, it's all good.
but you do get a look at a picture of this really nice, expensive rifle.
You-
Squib,
you
you
look
don't
it
like
up-
bullpups, right?
I've only shot the FAMAS. I didn't dislike it. I thought it might actually be a good hunting rifle for going through the brush, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get one, especially if it's really expensive compared to just a conventional type arrangement on a rifle. I mean, a Tavor is a lot more money than an AR-15, and they both shoot the same cartridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm the kind of guy who says, why do I need a Cadillac when a Chevy does just fine?
Well, the whole concept is a Tavor is for urban fighting. Your barrel doesn't stick out around the corner and you don't have to expose yourself as much. And basically, if you hold a pistol and like a regular isosceles triangle and you stick it out in front of you, it sticks out a hell of a lot more than the Tavor. You hold the Tavor close into your body and it barely. I mean, it's like, or any bullpup, it's just not gonna. It's like almost part of you. You have no rifle profile for somebody to shoot at, basically.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not calling the Tavor or any bullpup a bad system. It's just I don't. For me, urban fighting, house to house, kicking indoors, all that. I did that. I learned how to do that on an M16A2. It's a 20-inch barrel with a fixed buttstock. A lot of people say that's way too long. That's way too. Okay, sure, yeah. I mean, a shorter barrel, a collapsible stock, that'd be helpful. A bullpup setup. Hell, I mean, depending on how close in I was, I'd probably want a shotgun instead. But just for me, it's the price. The price is the thing that puts me off.
Yeah. Also, I think a lot of guys are just if they're gonna fight with a rifle, they want it to be one that they're comfortable with and have shot a lot before. And like you said, you shot the M16 a lot, so you'd probably be more comfortable with one of those, because you've used it before. And
well, what's the overall length on your Tavor?
The overall length?
Yeah, overall, end to end.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I could go measure it.
Well, you don't got to go to that. Well, I can tell you, M16A2 is 39 inches, 1 meter long, and that is kind of long for urban fighting. But you can use it when you're breaching and that sort of thing. You can use it; it will work. But still, I see what you're saying about the profile being more part of being able to get around in an urban environment.
My 18 inches that I was shown earlier is 36.5 inches, 36 3/4 of an inch long.
So it's only slightly shorter than a full-size M16.
Yeah. And that's with an 18-inch barrel.
See, though, I mean, sometimes that can make a difference depending on if you're in a real tight spot or if you're in a vehicle if you're a crew on an armored vehicle or something, you're gonna want your stuff as short as possible because everything's gonna be tight in there.
So here's a screen share of my Tavor. I could measure it for you. It's in the safe. I'd have to go open up the safe upstairs. It's basically real close. When you have this rifle, it's real close into your body, and it almost doesn't look like you're holding a gun at all, unless you stick it out and try and say, "Here's my gun." But if you're holding it like at firing position, it doesn't even look like you're holding a gun, especially not a rifle. Because sometimes you hold it. If I hold out a big bolt action and stick it out, it looks like I'm holding a rifle because I am. But in this, that you can't even tell, and so.
Maybe if I trained with a bullpup more than the little bit I have, I might be. I might change my mind and say I'm willing to pay the extra money. But just for me, it's the whole money thing. That's all. I'm not criticizing the weapon system at all.
Well, it works. They have them in Israel, and obviously when a new rifle comes out, everybody wants one. And there was people were paying ridiculous amounts over the MSRP when this first came out, and you saw them on Gun Broker for like $2,000 over the MSRP. Well, I was like, you know what, screw this. I'll just wait till it gets down to like the MSRP, and then. But now I think I've seen them used for like 12 or 1,300, and new you can get them for 16 or 1,700. And I think the MSRP is like 1,900 and change. And depending on how much your local gun dealer likes you, but I'm really happy with this rifle. It does what I need it to do. It hits whatever I aim it at, and that's all I can ask from a rifle. The rest is up to me to keep it clean and take it out to the range once in a while and feed it good ammo. And I guess it'll do what it needs to do. It's a tool. It was an expensive tool. And but now that the money's gone, I could just enjoy the rifle for what it is. And as far as the optic, you can't really see that the way I have the camo on this. It basically, it had to do with the optic, the field of view, and basically that, like, if I have like one of those cheap TRS 25s, it's like depending on where your head is, I can't remember the optic word for it, but it was like the red parallax. Yeah, that was it. Thank you. I spent forever searching for that one damn word on my download file. Basically, it's like if on a cheap TRX, depending on where your head is, the red dot will move, and it won't be on your target. It's like okay, my rifle's aimed at my target because the red dot's on it. And then you move your head a little, and all of a sudden it's not. But that doesn't happen with this optic. And he was basically saying that this is a parallax-free optic, which means you can move your head around, and the dot will stay where your rifle is aimed. And he was basically saying a lot of optics make that claim, but aren't really parallax-free. And this one is. That was the claim. That the MSC AQC was the first one, and then he has the MH1, which is the new generation. Of course, if the optics fail, I have the laser designator, but I've never had the optics fail, and it always hits what I aim at. So I've got no complaints, really. I put in aftermarket trigger pack. I have not put in the lightning bow yet because I need to completely disassemble the rifle to do that, and I don't think I have the right hex tool to do that. So I'm gonna have to go through all my rifle tools, and I'm so busy and back. I'm still polishing working on my CZ. I have a ton of knives to sharpen, and I'm backlogged with stuff to do. So I'll eventually put in the lightning bow trigger too. Even the trigger that comes with it is a good trigger. It's just the thing with the bullpups is because there's linkage. It's what's called linkage is the problem. It's not the trigger. So it's a good trigger. So what that means is the trigger is like near the front of the rifle, and the bow of the triggers, but there's a piece of metal connecting it to the trigger pack back where the action of the rifle is. And because there's this piece of metal that connects it from where the bow of the trigger is to where the mechanism of the trigger is, that link kind of makes it feel really mushy. Most people like a really clean trigger reset, like pistol. And so there's a bunch of aftermarket companies, Gazelle, there's a few others. You could go in the bullpup forum and see and read about them all. But if you're into bullpups, you should go into the bullpup forum. That's a website. They do have a little shop where they sell stuff too. But there's just a lot of information on the forums about all the rifles and a lot of bullpup fans. So and a lot of schematics and stuff like that. So basically, the thing with all the bullpups is the linkage. That it's not that the trigger is bad or just not good. It's because there's a piece of metal linking the bow of the trigger to the action of the trigger, and the action of the it's just, it feels mushy, and you think, well, this trigger feels mushy, but it's just the linkage from the front of the rifle to the back of the rifle. And so these are all basically weighted to the rear of the rifle. So, I mean, because if you look at it, the ammo magazine is in the back, the action is in the back, the weight is all in the back. So you could actually stand on guard and leave that rifle just leaning against your shoulder, and it doesn't take much energy to just stand on guard with holding the rifle, because it's just leaning against your shoulder because it's weighted to do that. A lot, not all rifles, most rifles aren't like that, I think. So it's as far as your choices of what kind of guns you can have. I don't know. This was one of mine. I have an AK. I like it. But if I have to pick a shit hits the fan rifle, if I have to pick a shit hits the fan rifle, the good thing about the AK is I got a ton of AK ammo, and the same ammo works with my CZ, which is my long range shooting rifle with the loophole scope. I really don't mess with that thing at all. So, but this for a CQB rifle, this is an awesome little tool. Hopefully we all live our lives out in peace, and the shit doesn't hit the fan, at least not in any way that involves violence, because that would be pretty ugly. As far as stuff, prepper news happening, we have the Standard & Poor's put Deutsche Bank on downgrade watch, which means they pretty much decided to downgrade it. And that is up until the end of May. So basically by the end of May, Deutsche Bank will be downgraded. And if anybody's been following the news, they're in big trouble. It's an insolvent bank, and it's almost the largest bank on the planet. And if it goes down, it'll take out the banking system pretty much entirely. And I think the joke has been if Deutsche Bank goes down, it'll make the 2008 banking crisis feel like somebody missed a payment. Somebody in Iowa missed a credit card payment or something. So we'll see what happens. These are things like regular people have no control over. All I can say is have some cash, because if the ATM stop working, have some cash. And just do all your regular preps. Prep, that's what prepping's for, stuff like that. But just don't have all your cash in the bank and none in your safe or your wallet or something. So Deutsche Bank is on downgrade watch by Standard & Poor's, and it's like the largest bank on the planet with the most derivative exposure. And they're insolvent, and I think pretty much everybody knows it by now. And they are the people rigging the silver market. They admitted to that in court. So they are one of the prime actors rigging the silver and gold and metals market. So if you're a silver nut like me, or what would we call us, silver bugs or gold bugs, then hold on to what you got, and if there's any currency problems, that should hopefully your silver stash will see you through any bad times. But that's it. If you have anything left after you spent all your money on guns and ammo and stuff, it's like, I think there reaches a point where you got to say, okay, I think I spent enough money on guns and ammo for now. Maybe some people don't feel that way. I think for me, it was when they, passed the Rat Back law in Hawaii, and I was just so pissed they passed this unconstitutional infringement that's also not just unconstitutional, but it's in direct violation of the 1986 Federal Firearm Owners Protection Act. And we had a Hawaii Attorney General who was not practicing law. He was practicing politics. And so I guess I was like, I'm not paying them $42 to be on some illegal list. If they want to put me on a list, let them pay for it themselves. In the state of Hawaii, like a lot of other states, it's not just Deutsche Bank that's bankrupt the states, or they have unfunded pension liabilities to government employees, firefighters, police officers. But it's something that will affect prepping if you live in Illinois or whatever you call it. I'm sure you're aware that the state has major financial problems, and that will eventually could affect you as a prepper, having to deal with that stuff. Anyway, so this is my Tavor. I tiger stripe painted it, and it's got some Osseo camo attached to some paracord. And the paracord, it's not wrapped around the barrel anymore. It was during this picture, but I kind of moved it around so paracord isn't going to get burned on the barrel. All right, so much for that. What's everybody up to otherwise? You guys doing any reloading?
I just finished de-priming about 50 or so casing.
What caliber?
223. Getting my stash of that built up because everybody's out of the bullets for my 308 locally, so I haven't been able to buy those.
Patrick, you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe they're out of they're out of what in Texas? Are you saying now?
Oh, the bullets I want to use for my 308.
Hornady?
No, they're a Nosler bullet.
Noslers.
And nobody ever really has a whole bunch of them. Cabela's is where I normally get it. And
order them.
Oh, I know. I could. I haven't gotten off my butt. I've been buying more 223 bullets now that I've got this one working, and those are definitely cheaper. But my de-priming pin, was busted, or my stem was busted, so I finally got that in, so I can actually de-prime all these stinking cases that I have, and actually put them back together. Once I buy primers, you gotta buy them. You gotta buy a whole bunch of stuff. I gotta spend money.
Were you using the universal deprimer, or were you using the one that come with the dies?
No, I was using the one that came with the die.
So you got to order that because it's got the neck expander, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they already sent it to me, and I've got it. I just haven't gotten off my butt from last week and done it.
Yeah, I keep extras for all the rifle calibers. The handgun, you can use the universal, and I don't use the lead pins. I use the hardened pins that are made by Squirrel Daddy. They're a lot stronger, but I mean, you don't get reform the neck with the universal. So it's always good to have extra stuff because, at least with me, reload equipment breaks, or I break it, I guess.
Oh yeah. I could go to Cabela's and go get the stem and pins and everything. It'll be here in a week. I'm not shooting right now, so. And I've got other cases that are ready to go. I just find the bullets and get off my butt and order those.
Yeah, I haven't done any reloading in 2 months. I need to, but I've been working on other stuff. With the weather getting nicer here, I'm outside.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear it.
I've got 3 vehicles to work on. I got a garden to work on. I got a yard to work on. All kinds of stuff. Now we can take the dog for a walk, despite
Awesome.
how tired it makes me.
What is your dog's name?
Sig.
Sig. Cool. You need to get one more dog and name him Zag.
Not
Sig.
Zig.
I know.
No,
Like Sig
his
Sauer.
next dog is Sour. His
Sig
next
and
dog is
Zag.
Sour.
I know, but Sig and Zag would be great names for two dogs. I mean,
Now I had two shepherds. I had a jet black shepherd and an American white, and I named them Day and Night. They were some pretty good dogs.
well, living in the condo, all I have is like a cat that lives a feral cat that's kind of domesticated that lives at the pool. So whenever I go to the pool, there's like a cat there that the manager feeds, and it's like a pool prowling cat that attacks birds.
Can't you try to domesticate one of the mongoose?
I think one of them. I think the manager has poison traps set out for the mongoose, and he poisoned one of them last week. The mongoose are an invasive species in Hawaii that was brought in by the government many years ago because they thought the mongoose would deal with the rat problem, and they didn't realize, the government, that the rats are nocturnal and the mongoose only come out during the daytime. So
But isn't it more or less just a really big skunk?
no, it's a small hyena. They're related to the hyenas. So if you think of it like a hyena, that's what it is. You don't want to fight. Yeah, and hyenas fight lions. So obviously it's smaller than a hyena, but it's the same. It's the same genus of animal. So.
Kind of sounds like what we did to Australia. Sent all these cane toads to deal with the bugs on the sugar canes, and now they're an invasive species.
Yeah, except what the reason they brought it in for didn't work because they were too stupid to realize that the rats are nocturnal and the mongoose would come out during the day. I mean,
well, it's the same thing with the cane toad, because the cane toad doesn't even eat the bugs off the canes.
I mean, and the moral of the story is the government doesn't know how to do anything right. And speaking of which, the government doesn't know how to do anything right. Let's talk a little news. Let's see if I can't quite hard to organize anything. So for my friends in the UK who think that because America doesn't have a national health system like the UK does, what was this whole thing about that kid? There's a child over there in the UK who the national healthcare system refused. They said there was no point in treating this child, and then the Pope intervened, and the Italian government offered the child citizenship, and they wanted to jet him over and give him free treatment in Italy, and the court in the UK wouldn't let him go. They insisted that he stay there and die, and
They
that's what he
barred the
did.
family from leaving the country with him, even though it wasn't going to cost the English people any tax money or anything.
I know it's just
a story, man. It's sad,
and that's not fake news. That's whenever you put the government in charge, they can't do anything right. And this is just a perfect example. And it costs more too.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing: the condition the kid had, his chances were slim to none. More than likely, whatever they were going to do for him in Italy wasn't going to work. But why should it be up to the court? It should be up to the parents, right?
Right.
Well,
one would think so.
They took that away from the parents and said, your opinion about your child doesn't matter. And they intervened. Well, it ain't really that much different than the family law system here in America, but still, nobody likes the government.
Death is rather permanent, and talk about death panels. That's what it was. A death court. I mean, the court may as well. So, I know healthcare is not a simple thing to figure out. It's not.
Well, I still think the family should have tried something to leave England and just say,
well,
the
hospital staff prevented them from doing that. They had child's room was guarded by the police, so they couldn't
they're not armed.
Well, yeah, but neither are the people. So unfortunately,
Look, more or less, if they tried to get the kid out of the hospital, they'd probably get caught. If they did make it out of the hospital, they'd have to get to the airport. They need their passports. I mean, they would get flagged by the customs agents. They would. It's just to get from England to Italy. You know, short of them having their own yacht, and even then, they'd probably send a dang Royal Navy out there to sink them.
yeah, the Pope would have to. The Pope would have to send like his Pope guard or whatever in to sneak.
Yeah, this is where we
out.
use the Vatican Special Forces. I mean,
they do have special forces actually for the Vatican. I mean,
they got some guys that I would never want to mess with. I wouldn't.
Look, if they were trying to set a precedent by saying we can't allow this to happen, well, wait a minute. If the Vatican and the Italian government want to pay for this, then let them pay for it. And then the next time, you can go to Italy and go, hey, you want to pay for this one too? But if nobody was willing to pay for this, the family didn't have enough money, there was no GoFundMe, whatever the heck it is, and it come down to, look, this is going to be an unnecessary burden on the taxpayers for however long, and in the end, it's not going to change the outcome.
Well, we all die in the end.
Well, yeah. I'm saying, like, as far as quality of life for the kid, longevity of the kid, blah 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 blah. I could see them arguing that, but it wasn't about that. It was, no, you're not going to leave the country. What? Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. What? I mean, I'm not a big fan of the idea of socialized medicine. I did have the British medical system explained to me by a former British citizen, and it sounded pretty good until they got to the 52% income tax that pays for it, and the fact that you are on a waiting list for a lot of stuff. But I mean, more or less, you just walk into the hospital and go, hey, I'm sick, take care of me, and that's it. You don't have to deal with all the crappy paperwork you got to deal with the insurance here. I'd rather have the insurance here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have government subsidies here, but it's just that the attitude we get from a lot of people with the UK is that our healthcare system is barbaric compared to theirs, which is civilized. And of course, that's how every country brainwashes their citizens to feel when they report on how it's like our healthcare is so civilized and they are such barbarians. Yeah, but that's like standard propaganda for any country, I guess.
Well, that and the English people are not a free people, you know.
I know they've lost a lot.
If you talk to somebody from over there, I mean, really talk to them and get to know them. They're used to being subjects. They've had hundreds and hundreds of years of generation after generation after generation being used to being told what to do and doing it. They don't question authority. They don't question their government. They don't. And that's not to say that there aren't capable people that are British citizens or former British citizens. I'm not saying that they're necessarily weak or anything like that, but this is what they're used to. What are we used to? We are a country of people who left these other countries to live our way of life here, and we rebelled against a tyrant. That's who we are. So we're the way we are, and they're the way they are, and they want to criticize us, but they don't have the same value system and stuff because of the way that they've been raised generation after generation after generation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have kings and queens, and they've had that for thousands of years. So it's like, but I mean, I wouldn't say they have a different value system than us. It's just that there's differences, and they're all. I have friends that I've talked to in lots of chats, and they're really good people, and I love them all. So it's just a different system of government that they're used to than we have, and it's not like either system is perfect.
No, I'm not saying that the British people are bad people.
No, they're great people.
I think that because they haven't lived in real freedom, they don't know what it is. And it's sad for them, but that's, I mean, some of them come over here to work, they get a taste of it, and they apply for citizenship.
Yeah. Stuart Varney, for one, to name one guy on Fox Business Channel. But
I mean, it's just sad and it's sick that the British government did that over there. And then, I don't know if people were pissed. I mean, obviously the family was, but I mean, the regular citizens throughout the country, if they thought, oh, well, that's okay, or if they got all up in arms about it. From what I'm understanding, they didn't. Nobody got all upset. And if something like that happened here and said that, hey, Squib, you can't take your kid over here to
some other hospital.
Yeah, some other hospital.
At the invitation of the Pope. At the invitation of the Pope. I mean, come on.
I mean, if somebody in our government told you that, Jesus, man, we'd be up on the White House lawn going, get your ass out the door. Let's go out back, have a conversation.
Well, I don't think the Secret Service would let that happen, but
I know, brother. I mean, you know what I mean. It's the mentality, that type of mentality, that and attitude.
People protest things in America. They protest all kinds of things in America, and that would be something people would protest.
I think that'd get a lot of people pissed.
Of course, CNN and MSNBC would still be talking about Russia.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want a good example of social medicine in America, remember Obama's speech, where he said this in his speech. He said, well, think about your grandmother. I forget how old, 85-year-old, I think he said, grandmother. Say she needs knee surgery, but I mean, she's 85. So why don't we just give her pain medication every month and that'll get her by because, she's 85. And I'm thinking, dude, I cannot believe you're saying this on national TV. You realize you're telling the population of America their grandparents, their quality of life for their grandparents doesn't matter, and let's just pump them full of meds until they die. I mean, I understand that when you're 85, getting surgery is not a great idea. For some people, they can't. I mean, that sort of thing. But overall, you're not, as the president of the United States, you do not go, you know what, instead of trying to correct the problem with our medical technology that we've got, we'll just pump them full of pain medication so they don't feel a thing until they kill over dead. I mean, that's just, you don't do that. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what our own leadership thinks about social medicine in America. And that's what it'll end up being one day if we start trying to use these other countries as a model and we get rid of companies being able to offer health insurance and that sort of thing. The companies that offer health insurance have to offer competitive health insurance or else they're not going to get the best employees. When I go looking for a job, one of the things I look at is benefits. It's not all about your hourly wages. How many vacation days do you get right off the bat? How many paid holidays do you get? Do you get uniforms paid for? What sort of health insurance do you have? Do you have dental and optical? Do you have life insurance? Do you have accidental death and dismemberment? Do you have short-term and long-term disability? Do you have college tuition reimbursement? Do you have, employee discounts on things like cell phones or cars or whatever? There's all kinds of little things that you look for in a career, not like a minimum wage job like bagging groceries or flipping burgers. I'm talking about an actual career. And if the employer goes, oh yeah, we offer this sort of healthcare and it's crappy healthcare, and you can opt to turn them down and go down the street to the next guy who maybe he doesn't pay as much per hour, but he's got really, really decent healthcare. And you're thinking about your wife, your kids, or maybe your family is not sickly. You don't have a lot of health issues. So you don't need great health care. So you'd rather get the higher hourly wage. So you take the job. They don't have the best health care, but it's got something. And you take the higher because that's America. That's the free market. That's capitalism. If you just let the companies handle it and keep the government out of it, with the exception of, I think there should not be any pre-existing clauses on health insurance. They shouldn't be able to deny you because you already have a condition. That's with the exception of that. Just because the companies that have crappy health insurance are going, why do we keep getting bad employees? Oh, gee, I don't know, because the guy next door has got a health care program that costs half as much and does twice as much. Oh, maybe we should catch up with them. It's common sense stuff. But the government doesn't see it that way. They think we need to get everybody together because there's lots of people without health care. They're without health care because they choose to be without health care. If they say, well, my employer doesn't offer it, then start looking for a place that does. Don't settle. Too many people settle, and that's why these companies get away with not having benefits, not having good wages, having harsh work conditions. You don't even need a union per se. You just have to have a bunch of people who have a work ethic who aren't willing to settle for some shitty job with shitty benefits.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Squib. It's the work ethic thing that we're lacking nowadays.
Well, I had to go get some ice while you were ranting, so I needed some ice for my drink. So that was the benefit I needed, ice.
Yeah, well, I was trying to buy you some time.
Thanks.
But you are correct. I mean, everything you said is correct. I feel for that kid. And this kid I know was only like what, 2 years old or something, 2 or 3 years old. He wasn't very old. It just, and it pisses me off. It makes me never want to go to England and give them any of my cash because of that crap. And I know it's kind of stupid saying, but
Well, it's right now the dollar to pound, or the dollar is strong compared to a lot of other currencies. So if you want to go on a vacation, it's not a bad time to go as far as just the exchange rates. But it's up to you. I mean, there's the people there everyone that I've talked to, they're like 99.99 are just great people.
I know, but it's just, and it's punishing people that didn't have anything to do with it, But it's just, I don't know. I know Rick was on Gun Channels. He was pissed about it. I heard him on Saturday, and I was like, when I heard him, talking about it, I was like, it got me pissed. I was like, God.
Yeah, well, I don't feel like it's like, I mean, I have basically my Ohana healthcare plan is like largely subsidized by Medicaid. So, I mean, basically, I showed at the hospital sick, and I didn't have to pay for anything. I think I got about $1 million worth of free health care. And I got no complaints.
Yeah, but you've also worked before. You've paid into the system.
I sure did.
I mean, it's not like that you didn't. It's free. You have paid for it once. I mean, yes, I'm kicking in cash on every paycheck. Squib's kicking in cash. My wife's kicking in cash to pay for that. And I agree, we should have something like that for folks, especially that are down on their luck or just need help.
Well, what happened to me was, my health insurance. I used to have Blue Cross when I was working for myself in California, and it used to be, or I used to have Kaiser at like $80 a month, and it went up to. Then I switched to Blue Cross, and like Kaiser didn't want to take corporate checks. It had a problem with them, so I switched to Blue Cross, and then it's like the Blue Cross, especially after Obamacare, it went up from like $120 a month to almost over $900 a month, and and that was with like a $15,000 or $16,000 deductible.
Yeah.
So I never used it for anything, and I was like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to go into the healthcare connector, which went bust in Hawaii, and which tied into the governmenthealthcare.com, and they hooked me up with Ohana Care, and basically Medicaid. Basically, I wasn't paying anything.
Yeah, my mom's on Medicare and Medicaid because she couldn't afford Obamacare. Obamacare was over $700 a month.
Yeah, and I was paying over $900 a month, and I was like, "This is stupid that I have a $15,000 deductible." And that, of course, I wound up having $1 million worth of health care. That, I mean, if I had to pay for it myself, I would have been bankrupted. But the healthcare company paid for everything. Those poor fools, and so. I got no complaints. It's just the way the system is set up. I mean, there's no competition, and single payer obviously isn't going to work. And Europe should be proof of that. And it's just that it's not an easy thing to figure out how to fix. I know it's not an easy fix, but I think that it's what's common when somebody is writing a report like in the UK about the American healthcare system or American gun laws. It's say we're civilized and they're not, and look how uncivilized they are, because of incident X, Y, or Z. But that's how reports are always written since the beginning of time. They want their side. We all want our country to appear more civilized than the other country, and that's how reports are always written. I mean, because if whoever wrote the report didn't write it like that, they would be fired and nobody would ever hear from them again. So if I worked for the BBC, I would have to be, my job would be to say that American gun laws are evil, and everybody that owns a gun in America is evil, and everybody that didn't vote for Obamacare is an evil person that's clinging to their guns and religions, like Obama said. But I don't work for the BBC, so. But it's brainwashing, and like I said before, the whole planet is brainwashed. It's kind of a form of enslavement. All I can say is, if you live in the UK, you don't need a king or a queen, and that's the sovereign. And I mean, who the hell are they anyway? To take away, to tell you how to live your life in the first place, or to tell them this family that they couldn't take their child to Italy for treatment. I mean, if I was that family, I would say, this country has no sovereign authority over me. I'm just out of here. And I wouldn't even bury my child in England. Maybe I wonder if they'll even let them take the corpse out of the country at this point.
Well, I kind of wonder if they do the same. Would they do the same thing if it was, the prince's, kid? I mean, we're gonna Prince Harry and Prince William. We're gonna do the same shit to him because it's kind of really, you are subject to that point, But I mean, it's just no different than Hillary not going to jail, If it was
special laws for special people,
you would have been locked up.
Special laws for special people.
Yep.
She sure is special, that's for sure.
Yeah, special ed.
Yeah. So it's the bottom line is, people in the UK vote for who they vote for, and it's their country. And I would say, it's been said by, I think, Voltaire, that the illusion of freedom that you have in the UK it's an illusion, because you're only free for 5 minutes once every 4 years when you're in the polling booth and voting. And what he said was, the British people make such terrible use of that 5 minutes of freedom that they deserve to lose it for the next 4 years. And they do. I think it was Voltaire that said that, but I'm not sure who it was that said that. And so, yeah, when you go out and vote, it matters who you vote for. And like a lot of times in my state, Hawaii, I mean, we've got all idiots here. I mean, when I was at like the Passover Seder at the local, I mean, it's just amazing to me how many people out there believe in rainbows and unicorns, and how they think all politicians are on both sides of the parties are trying to do, they're good people trying to do good things. It's like they believe in unicorns and rainbows and strawberries that just grow on, and money that grows on trees. It's like, no, that's not how it is. That's not what politicians do. I think Henry Kissinger said that the 90% of the corrupt politicians in the world make the other 10% look bad. I mean,
it's like what I heard on the news today earlier, about the NRA convention. We had a city councilman that was interviewed by Fox station. He goes, "Oh, well, the NRA isn't paying us a dime to come here." And I go, "We're not making any money off this deal." I go, "Oh, bull crap, you lying idiot. Because the president's going to come and the vice president's going to come. And, they go, this one city councilman, the same one said, well, I'd rather just see president and vice president just go somewhere else and not come here. Because this is all just a big giant burden on our money and more resources with cops. We have one cop that was shot, two cops that were shot, one that just died from his injuries a week ago. and everybody's all sad and gloomy, and now we're going to have all this crap, and the city's not going to make any money. I'm like, you lying turd head.
Well,
The city's making tons of cash.
Yeah, I had that same issue once when I used to have a business in Burbank, a recording studio post production called Digital Post, and I was at the tax office once, getting some kind of a stamp on my architectural upgrades or whatever, something like that, at the city planning office, and one of the employees that collects taxes for the government there was saying, I mean, the local government of Burbank, the city, was basically saying, oh, like when Arnold Schwarzenegger came in to announce that he was running for governor at the Tonight Show, he was saying this. I mean, every cop is on like double getting paid for overtime. The entire city is just in an uproar. Basically, this is costing the city like this one Tonight Show visit where he went on the Tonight Show and announced he's running for the government. They shouldn't have done it because it's costing the city like $10 or $20 million to put on this one Tonight Show because Arnold is driving into town. And I was like, I mean, and she wanted to charge NBC some special fee or tax for doing that, for like usurping the entire police department to like run interference for Arnold Schwarzenegger's limo or something. And it's like, you know how much NBC? Do you know how much NBC pays in taxes to the city of Burbank? Do you know how many employees in Burbank work for NBC? NBC over the last 100 years has kept, and I guess it's owned by Disney now. I mean, the Tonight Show and the NBC studio there has kept the city of Burbank afloat for like over 100 years, and now they want to charge them because Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up for one night. They want to charge him more money for that. I mean, it's a typical taxation mentality of people that work for the government.
Oh yeah, and plus here's the other thing here. We have an ex-president that lives in Dallas. I mean, for crying out loud, we've got the protection for having that ex-president and having a current president, sitting president come here to a big event like this. And not to mention, they're making money off all the hotels because they raised the taxes on the hotels around here for the last 4 years to pay for the convention. So to say that they're not making money was a freaking lie.
And the thing is, it's also same thing. What I told her is you have the typical taxation mentality, and the same thing happened when I was at the local DMV for like repaying my car registration, and it was like on the very, very last day that I could without a late fee. And she was like, "Well, I won't charge you a late fee, but no, it's the last day. You should have paid earlier." I was like, until I give it to you, it's not your money. My money is my money until I give it to you, or you steal it from me. It's not the government's. It's not your fucking money. But it's not your fucking money. They act like it is. If they need money, they'll just raise taxes. They'll raise your property taxes. They'll raise your registration fees. They'll double your registration fees and make you do whatever else they want you to do. And it's like that. Our money is not your money. That's our private property. And it's just, people don't get that. And so when people say we want free this and we want free that, that means they're going to steal the money from somebody else and give it to some other person. That's socialism. Mm-hmm. And eventually the problem with socialism, including socialized medicine, is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yep.
To pay for shit. And that's what that Margaret Thatcher said that, who's, I guess, people in England got very tired of Margaret Thatcher, but she was right about that.
She was right about a lot of things.
Yeah, I think eventually every politician people just get tired of them eventually, and that happened to her. Very tired of her. But anyway, Anybody have any other stuff or prepper stuff they want to talk about, or gun stuff, or politics, or?
I'm going to the NRA show on Friday, so
Oh, that's awesome, man.
yeah, I'm going to go because hell, it's here. I live here, so I mean, I can't afford to go to another city.
Well, take
When
some
it's next year.
pictures. Take some pictures to share with us next week.
Oh, I will.
It's going to be my last show, May 6th, before I leave for Arizona. After which I will be out of there'll be like 3 weeks without a lock and load show. So I'm sorry, guys, but I will be traveling in a free state, at least for most of the time, and get to spend some time with my folks I haven't seen for a few years, and it'll be a lot of fun in Arizona. I think I get to open carry a Glock. Can't do that. Can't do that in Hawaii so much. So but so 3 weeks. So yeah, bring some photos of the NRA show next week, please, that you can screen share with us. I'd love to see all the booths. I bet they have a ton of booths. How many square feet is that convention? How many booths are going to be there?
It's huge. I mean, it's like SHOT Show in Vegas.
Awesome.
So it's very large. I mean, everybody's going to be there, and every manufacturer is going to be there. Big name is a lot of ton of small people, and I mean, it's just it'll be cool. And there's a lot of people from Gun Channels that are gonna go. I hope to meet them and hook up with them and get to finally see some people and just chill and have a good time. I can only go on Friday because that's my only day. I can't go a Saturday or Sunday, but that'll be good because it'll be a less crowded day there. So hopefully I'll get to get some free stuff that they're giving out.
Oh yeah, some bling.
Oh yeah. Well, I know like Primary Arms, you've got a whole bunch of optics that they're going to give away and some stuff, and they're going to give away a gun. Like I know Geisley gave away a gun at SHOT Show, or 2 guns at SHOT Show, and you just put your name in the hat and see what happens. Might get some, So. But,
yeah, I mean Geisley, and I mean there's a lot of good companies. LaRue might probably. I guess LaRue's going to be there. They make a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be there because they're a local company. And,
yeah, they're Texas.
I mean, I guarantee you, probably every firearms, large and a lot of small ones, will be there. Our local one would be Bond Arms down in Fort Worth, and I'm sure they're going to have a booth and stuff, which would be cool.
God, if I was there, I'd wind up with a bunch of guns that I bought.
Yeah, you can buy guns apparently, and yeah, the only stipulation, we can open carry and conceal carry inside the show, except for when Trump and Pence are going to be there.
So they are going to be there. Okay.
Yeah, they announced it today that President and Vice President will show up, and on those days, you cannot carry firearms inside there.
That's reasonable.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the thing is, security. We had one radio show host that's local here that does a lot of NRA shows. Or he's a spokesman for the NRA and all that. He was like, yeah, I really don't think people are going to be, trying to come in and shoot up the NRA show, because if they did, that'd be a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the Secret Service there. Oh, Edge wants a link.
The Secret Service, the local police, the state police, and not to mention all the armed citizens that are in there with the license to carry. I mean, that's a bad. I wouldn't try that.
Hey Edge, I sent you a link. I put a link in the gun channel side there. I didn't see you ask for a link there. Sorry. I forgot to put you in my email this week.
There he is.
Did he make it?
Sorry, I'm in Japan right now on tour. So
you're in Japan on tour? All right.
But I haven't bat him away.
Are you going to the NRA show?
I wish I could, man. I just found out I'm having some transmission issues in my truck, so I'm gonna have to. There's an easy way to fix it, but it's gonna be a pain in the ass. So that she ain't going anywhere far for now.
I know that feeling. I just got mine fixed.
Well, luckily it's not a tranny issue, or it's not a big transmission issue. It's a solenoid in the freaking the pan. I got to replace.
Yeah, valve body. Yep.
Yep, on my F-150, it's an 05. So
Yeah, well, I had to have my whole transmission rebuilt, turned up.
So 2005, that's a 13-year-old car. All right, solenoid could go bad.
Oh yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, I kept my old. I had an 01 that I kept all the way to 2011, Dodge 1500 Laramie, and the only reason I got rid of her is like little things were starting to. I mean, the AC worked. The windows would sometimes wouldn't roll down. You had to give them a pop. The dash was cracking. I'm like, okay, it's time to just, get while the getting's good. And I ended up buying a Honda Accord.
Well, that's great. Wait, you bought a Honda Accord but you traded in a truck for a Honda Accord?
Well,
That's not good.
I used to drive 3 miles to work with the 5.9 V8, so I can get away with that. And I was in gas like up to like 365, 350 a gallon here in Texas, Southern Texas. And then, so when I bought the truck, gas like shit, like almost $2 a gallon or whatever. And then like 4 months later, went up to like 285, and I was like, fuck. And so when I said, okay, I had a little career change, I need to get another job. I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to drive probably a good distance, so I need a little Japanese engine, man. It's gonna save me some money. And that 2000 was a 2007 Honda Accord I bought. Yeah, I can fill that sucker up with $30. My truck, the one I have now, it takes like $80 to fill up.
Mm-hmm.
33 gallon tank versus a 12-gallon tank.
Yeah, well, my dad sold it when I was about 8 years old. My dad sold his Mustang and bought a Gremlin, a green Gremlin. But he had to drive from San Fernando Valley into Pico and Motor into like Wilshire. It was like through rush hour traffic to and from work every day. About what was that, 50 miles? So the gas wasn't insignificant, especially that was like during the Carter gas crisis, I think, when that happened. So the Arab oil boycott and stuff. I mean, so it seemed to make sense at the time, but I mean, giving up a Mustang for a Gremlin, I mean, shit.
Yeah, I'd cry. I'd be like, oh.
That's a name, and they're the one. Well, I would have left you that car, but I needed the money. But
yeah.
My Honda's been good to me. I mean, we had 2 of them. My family's bought several of them, and I like the new Ridgeline too. But I have a neighbor has one, and it looks like a cool looking truck, but it just, man, it doesn't purr at all, dude. That thing sounds like a Honda. It's taken off, and not the lawnmower Hondas. When people put the obnoxious exhaust on them, and I just put a K&N air intake system on that truck.
So how far is it to work for you, Edge, exactly?
Well, I work roughly about 17 miles each way.
Oh, 17 miles each way. I thought you said like 3 miles. If it was 3 miles, I'd say get a moped.
It was 3 miles from 2006 to 2011. Yeah, but after that, I was like, okay. And then again, I could have invested money in the truck and fixing and keeping it, but the gas would at that time. I remember I went to Laredo in 2012, right before the spring break 2012. The gas was $3.85 a gallon. Fuck, man, and even taking the Honda to Laredo back, it's 154 miles each way. I think it cost me like about $80, something like that.
You know what? One thing although it's not on like reruns and syndication anymore, I love watching the old Rockford Files because they would have the gas prices like at the gas stations from when they shot the thing in the 70s, and gas was like 50 cents a gallon or 23 cents a gallon. And I mean, and that was when I was living in Malibu, and I used to live in Malibu for a while, and I knew all those gas stations, all those stores that he would visit at, the grocery stores, all those gas stations he would drop. I mean, those were the gas stations I would buy my gas at, because there weren't that many gas stations to choose from. in Malibu. And so it's like when I would see that 23 cents a gallon, I was like, Jesus Christ. And I was pissed, used to be pissed because when it got over $1, I was like, well, I think I'll wait for the prices to come down. And they never did, really. But I mean, I would always try and buy gas when I would wait for a dip. But I mean, lately the gas prices has been going up. We were talking earlier in the show that because of the in 2 days, Trump has to make a decision on Iran sanction waiver or not. And Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu gave a speech and a presentation today on how Iran, with a bunch of pilfered documents that Israeli claims, they claim they have a bunch like 186 Iranian CDs, compact ROM drives of and books on Iran's secret nuclear program. So I guess the oil futures has been shooting up a bit.
The speculators are back in the market. Right now, gas here in San Antonio, my local area is anywhere from about $2.39 to $2.49 a gallon.
Yeah, well, if the Saudis and the Israelis and the Iranians start shooting at each other in the Persian Gulf, and then you can count on the price to go way high.
I wish it was $2.40 a gallon. Here it's $2.70 a gallon.
But I swear, you play the old Rockford Files. If you see any of the old Rockford Files stuff, and you just see like gas is 23 cents a gallon. It's like,
I filled up like 2 weeks ago, and it was like what, $2.19.
Yeah, it's over. It's like it's closer to $4 here in Hawaii, but we're on an island. We're on an island in the middle of the Pacific, and so I'm just lucky you can buy gas here.
I live along the coast.
I would just have my own like rickshaw.
Right.
A rickshaw.
And the guy on his rickshaw taking me everywhere.
Well, horses, you could buy a horse. And especially in Texas, you should be able to buy a horse.
Well, no, I want a rickshaw. I want to do a class. I'm treating my driver well. Look at him. He has a uniform. He's sweating like bullets wearing that whole thing, polyester. Going up the hill, but hey.
Dude, you live in Texas. Buy a horse.
Buy a Slumdog Kid, and I'm okay.
Well, maybe I should. When I'm in Prescott, Arizona, should I try and find a horse to ride?
Sure.
I'm gonna be open carrying a Glock.
Clydesdale, perhaps.
Side saddle. Nah, I need a horse I could ride and a target that I can try and shoot at while I'm riding a horse. I know that's not easy to do.
One of them stubborn.
A Clydesdale is twice the size of a regular horse.
I'll probably need one. I'm a big guy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's Clydesdale, but because you know, old mule, he ain't going nowhere. He's like, I'm sorry, buddy, we're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Stubborn mule on the move.
Yeah, I think my dad tried to ride a horse once, and the horse took one. Basically, my dad got on the horse. The horse looked back at my dad, and it was like, the horse just went straight to the barn. he didn't want to go riding anywhere with my dad. Yeah. So my dad got off the horse because the horse wouldn't follow his lead, and then the horse stepped on his foot. And he hasn't ridden a horse since.
You have to dominate them. And it's funny because here in Texas, or most of the states, when you get a horse's attention, you click. But in Mexico, the way they train their horses is you give them kisses instead of that. You gotta. That's how they do it. They do the kiss thing over there for the horses. And when we were riding Cancun, I was like, all right, buddy, because they want to keep grazing. They're like, dude wants to keep fucking off. I'm like, hey, I want to eat this tree. And I'm like, no, we're going forward, buddy. Keep going. Yeah, let's go. And they're like, you want to let them out? I'm like, fuck no.
So you don't like just get some big Texas spurs and dig it into the side of the horse to get him to do what you want.
If he knows you enough that he's not gonna sit there, he's dead set, he's gonna buck you. Because I've been bit by a horse, and that's no fucking man. Oh my god, the only thing I can think is worse than getting bit by a horse, getting kicked by one.
Well, I guess it could bite you even if you're riding it. I guess I don't know. I don't know anything about horses.
Like I had a friend. He had one. He had his horse illegally in his backyard across the street from me in Laredo, and he would take him out, let him graze, and then bring him home, and kind of just play the cat and mouse game because he wasn't allowed to have him there. But that fucking horse, one time I was eating, I was smoking a cigarette next to him when he was eating. I wasn't fucking with him, and he just reached over and fucking bit me right above the breastplate and the flesh. Just gave me a good tug and like, get the fuck away from me. I was like, fuck me. He like suspended me, and I was like, oh.
He didn't like your secondhand smoke, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. And I was like, jeez, because I was helpless. He clumped all the nerves right there that are all in there, and just held me like I was like, fuck. And I wanted, and my buddy Shelby saw me, and he's like, he saw me. I wanted to beat the fuck out of the horse. Like, you better not hit him, fucking motherfucker. Fucking.
You wanted to pull a Mongo. You wanted to pull Mongo from Blazing Saddles.
I was about to grab whatever's handy, a little freaking piece of his meat, and pop that horse over the head. And,
yeah, in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, Conan like punches a camel in the face and knocks it out.
Yeah. Well, he got spit on. He didn't get bit.
And then he got spit on, and then he hit it and knocked the second one out. Yeah, that was in the Destroyer one.
That horse kneecapped his other buddy who was behind him, and that was just a mean horse. He would even try to buck Shelby, the owner, but Shelby knew him that well that he could feel him kind of like when he was going to do it, and he could just get him to come back down. But he didn't like anybody. His name was Indio. Fucking. Well,
the point was, if you have a horse, you don't need gas, but you do have to figure out how to get the horse to do what you want him to do. I have no idea how to do that.
I've never ridden one.
Oh, I love riding horses there, man. It's very therapeutic. It's fun too. It's just when you're a big guy, you get your heavy ass up there. Like I was overweight, man. I'm fucking like, all right, come on, put your back into it or get my heavy ass up on that horse. All right, there you go.
Well, you'd have to pick a strong horse, I guess. You can't just get on a little pony. Well, if I ride a horse, it'll probably be an iron horse. I'll have to get a Harley or something.
There you go.
Steel horse I ride.
All right, so you're not going to make it to the NRA show. That sucks.
Yeah, it just came too close. What G-Web's told me about ahead of time, and I should have done some planning. But then again, right now, this thing, I can't drive that truck. It has no overdrive. I can drive it with the overdrive off. But I can't, fucking go anywhere. And so I'm going to get that replaced, and that's going to cut in some fucking money there. So, but I need that truck.
All right. Well, man, Edge, hey, thanks for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. I mean, in case anybody doesn't know, Edge has a YouTube channel, and actually, I saw your guitar jam sessions there. That was pretty fun.
10,000 in one garage. It was a mess.
So what kind of, was that some kind of Fender Jag, or what was that guitar?
It's a guitar I got when I was 17 years old. I've had it for about 24 years. It's a 1992 Fender Stereo Von Signature Stratocaster.
Oh, that was a Strata? Okay.
It's a Strat, but it's the Signature Strat that they released a couple years after he died. He died in 1990.
Yeah, I think the only guitar I have is in storage in California. It's a Gibson Explorer Maple.
Nice.
So, yeah, well, it's been a while since I played that thing. But
if it's an original Explorer, it's worth some money, man. It's like $5,000 or $6,000.
Really? I think I paid $400 for that.
An original, not an Epiphone, a true Gibson Explorer.
Yeah.
Because back in the early 80s, they weren't very popular. They kind of made that, and then they made the Flying V.
Yeah, the only thing I did to it was because the original bridge wouldn't stay in tune. So I didn't put a whammy on it, but I put a whammy bridge on it so it would stay in tune, because I was going to the Guitar Institute of Technology when I was a kid, and I needed the damn thing to stay in tune, and I couldn't get it to stay in tune with the Gibson bridge that came with it. So I put on a whammy bridge, but not a whammy. So, but yeah, it's a maple wood Gibson Explorer. It's worth $5,000. I'll sell it. I didn't even know that.
Well,
why don't nobody tell me nothing?
a Gibson, any Gibson, like a solid model like that was made, and again, you bought it in the 80s. It could be from the late 60s, 70s, depending on where it was made. to get the serial number, to do some research on it, and then see what they're going for. But I'm almost certain you're in the realm, probably a minimum about 4 to 5 grand, and maybe even more than that.
All right. Well, yeah, I got so much shit in storage. I wonder how much my Trident TSM I could get for that if I was to sell it. Yeah, I have so much crap. I have a 2-inch tape machine in storage, 24 track, but it would be too.
Some of that gear's past its prime. I mean, as far as
it's not. It still works great, and it's like vintage audio gear is like that they don't make anymore. It's not as easy to come by. So if it's in really good shape, and mine is, and it's got like maintenance records, it's like it's kind of priceless in a way because you can't buy it at any price anymore. They don't make them.
Well, you might find somebody like in a market, like try and just do some like basic demo tapes or whatever to be interested in. But everything now is like, you know what I mean? Even
Pro Tools, everything is Pro Tools.
Engineering boards, I mean, they're there, but they're all hooked up to some computer that.
Yeah, it's all digital stuff hooked up to Pro Tools. I know. I had a Pro Tools system. It wasn't the latest, greatest one, but I was okay on Pro Tools. But I mean, I recorded everything on tape. I was like one of the last holdouts. and people would ask me, why don't you use Pro Tools? Why don't you use Pro Tools? Because I would have to, because every year Digidesign came out with a new Pro Tools system that cost another $20,000. Because was their business model. Every year they would get all their customers to spend $20,000 on an upgraded system. And I refused to do it. I was like, I could record this damn film on a 2-inch tape. And so why would I bother with a new Pro Tools system that I don't really absolutely positively have to have? And so I just got tired of people hearing me say, well, I mean, I would just say, why are you using Pro Tools? Because tape sounds better and tape doesn't crash. And it's for anybody that's like done a Pro Tools session and like had the hard drive crash or the system get corrupted and that you just lose like a month worth of work in like 5 seconds. I mean, that has happened. That almost happened to me once on one of my films. I think one of the last things I did when I was working at Technicolor. Technicolor's, I rented their studio because the studio that I was renting after my old studio shut down. It was called The Bakery, and the bakery closed down, and I had to go. The only place I could find like really quick was Technicolor. So I just rented their studio, and their Pro Tools system crashed. And lo and behold, when they called for support, it was the same guy who sold me my Pro Tools system, but except I had like Pro Tools 2 and they had like Pro Tools 5. And so but it was like, yeah, the system crashed. And, basically I just let the engineers deal with it. And they all looked at me like I had lost everything that we had done. And I just went into the manager of Technicolor's room and I told him, I've been in this business for a while. I'm not going to bounce off the walls and yell and scream. I just want to finish the film. Let me know when all the shit works, and when we can finish the film. And so he appreciated that. He basically didn't charge me anything extra to just stay there all weekend because it crashed on a Friday, and finish the film for nothing, no extra charge because the whole damn thing crashed. And I think it took like 2 days to get the system back up, and then we finished the film in a few hours. But tape doesn't crash. It sounds great. And people like recording on analog just for the sound. I mean, it sounds different. There's a EQ bias going on and off 2-inch. It just sounds different. It sounds better. And you can distort tape. You can get a nice, distortion can be good if you do it right. And as anybody that plays guitar knows, but also anybody who records on tape knows that. And you get a nice, warm, fuzzy sound. Or not fuzzy, but just warm. It's like a different way of recording that people who are into recording things can value. I mean, Pro Tools has systems to simulate what tape sounds like. They have you can buy an add-on plug-in for Pro Tools you can make your digital recording sound like analog tape. It's like, or you could just record on tape in the first place. I know you don't have all that editing and stuff, but I mean, digital has its advantages, but tape works. It's worked for quite a long time, and it's got a lot of advantages.
Do they still use film in production movies now?
No, not unless it's like people use digital for shooting film. Because it's cheaper. That's why Kodak went out of business. Kodak used to sell gobs and gobs of film to film companies. I mean, by the boatload of film, and that stopped. They all went to digital because the accountant said, "Look how much money we'll save if we go shoot with digital." So, and the accountants all said, "Look how much money we'll save if we close down every department and fire everybody." And now they can't make a film to save their ass. I mean, they're all made by like European or Asian production companies now, and film companies don't make jack shit in America. So, but that's it's not just the film industry that happened to.
Porn is thriving.
Porn?
Sir, porn is thriving.
Well, I think we started the show with, did you hear about Katie Couric's interview on NBC? She interviewed a sex robot.
No, I did not. That's interesting. Did she get off?
Well, she was interviewing this sex robot and talking to it, and the robot would talk back. And she interviewed her at a restaurant, and in front of at the table that the porn robot was sitting, there was a salad in front of the robot. Like somebody ordered this robot a salad. Like, what? Well, robots don't eat.
He was with like every major network, and then she went to Yahoo, and then that didn't work out. So I think she's on her own, doing her own thing now.
Well, she interviewed a sex robot. So whatever. Well, I don't know what the world is going to.
Well, she's known to be like a very articulate, serious reporter, so that'd be interesting.
Well, I'm sure if you look at it later, you can. Squib wanted to know what model it was that was interviewed. So,
well, I mean, if you're going to get down $10,000 for a robot, it's cheaper than a wife if you think about long run. Mother's Day, Valentine's.
Edge. On that note, we'll wind up this chat. Oh man,
I'm sure Dave Ramsey would agree with me.
I'm not even sure what that's a reference to, but I might be better off not knowing. Okay, thanks for everybody for tuning in. We've got one more show before I'm going to be flying over to Arizona, and then I'll be off the air for 3 weeks. I'll try and get on. I don't know. It depends where I am, whether or not I'll be able to make it onto your show. I'm going to be in like Arizona and like between the 11th and the 31st of May. So I might not be able to make it on your shows on Friday night. In case anybody doesn't know, Edge of the Week is on gunchannels.com and YouTube on every Friday at what time?
I'm also on 10:30
Central time.
Yes, sir.
All right. And your channel is Edge 4006 or 9006?
Bill and Edge, excellent adventure, 4007. Yeah, Edge 4006 on Instagram and YouTube. Go check it out. Give it a thumbs up. I'm trying to transition, get in the mood to do videos again. Kind of the YouTube doesn't want to take the wind out a lot of everybody for reasons. Not necessarily always financially, but the little money we got is gone. So. And so I'm trying to build the interest back into it to go and do it again and just start doing weird things, different things, music, cooking, guns always. But so we'll see where that happens. But stay tuned, man.
All right then. So we're gonna wrap this one up. Thanks everybody out there. I think local 223 has got a couple group hands out there. Jared Walsh. And the external. Thanks everybody for cruising on by, And should I say fight the good fight, keep your group tight? Or I think my ending is like you were born free, have the courage to live your life that way. And we will see you all next week.
All
right. No, there's an off button around here somewhere.